So this is my analysis on EG versus G2. I'm going to mainly focus on the Deadlock in the duelist role. And the reason why I think Deadlock can kind of fit into this duelist role is because the duelist role itself is pretty broad on this map. Jet's dash and Raze's satchels tend to get less value on this map than they do on other maps. So it kind of lets the door, or like the door's a bit more open for other duelists to kind of get into that role. Things like ISO, Reina, Neon, Yoru can kind of fit into that role as well. And obviously we'll potentially see Chamber in the future as we did in the past. And I think Deadlock isn't too far away from filling this role either. So the reason why, I think she's a bit more defensive overall though. And I think that in a way, in the game, was definitely pointed out by the casters as well, is that the game does slow down when you have a comp like this. And I do think that can be to your benefit if you know how to play around the slowness of the rounds. And I think EG definitely did. I think as well, this pick isn't just playable on in every like comp or whatever, or like every team. I do think that the combo of Gekko and KO do help to take space when you do have a deadlock in this slot. I also think as well the player Apoth is a pretty aggressive sentinel, and I think that definitely helps to have more impact as a team on T side when you have the deadlock on duelist. We won't actually be looking at that right now. We're just going to be looking at the deadlock specifically. So we're going to start with the first round of pistol. I'm going to turn this down. And basically what happens is that the deadlock instantly puts up a wall, which is pretty good for pistol, because how do you break this really? And obviously as well, if we keep going forward, you can actually see that Leaf actually suspects this could be a trap play. He hits it twice and then gets his gun out, looks at the corner, and honestly it could have been a trap play. But the part I like about it is that they kind of just slow down the push so much, and then it kind of reverts back. Like at this point, now that they can get through, it is very similar to just how it's played with the duelist, with the Viper playing like this. And then we actually get this, and as soon as the Viper's contacting, the molly goes up, and the gravnet comes in, and this person's just dead. Like, it's impossible to like play, especially on pistol as well, when you don't have armor. The molly does 135, so even if you kill the Viper, there's a decent chance you die to the molly anyway. So I really do like that. And as you can see, Georgia gets timing, and they win the round. Okay, so next we're actually going to go to round 5. So round 5, it's full buy basically for everyone, but Valen. And I think it was interesting on this map to point out on this round, to point out that we have a pretty devastating looking setup on the defense with the util. Like, if I was on the attacking team, I would struggle to find a way to win this round without finding myself in a trap at one point in the round. I think it is super difficult to dodge all the traps in this round. And I think and then as you see, Leaf will go straight into one right here. Straight into the stun, and then the gravnet, free kill for Superman really. And then he puts up the molly to stop any potential trades coming through and delay more time. And basically hold yellow for a lot longer. He's got very good discipline, not peeking and not even jump spotting. As you can see, Jonah P was ready for a jump spot. So eventually they end up going through onto Slight. Despite some delay, that kind of stuff, they end up getting the plant down. And this is still a winning position for G2. Despite being in a 4v5, the bomb plant generally means like +1. So this is kind of like mathematically 5v5. Because the bomb does kind of count for an additional player. Trent gets a pick and then dies. And then we get the Deadlock ult, which is really, really strong in these type of positions. Because it clears out a spot. So if we just go back slightly, it clears out this position. So it's going to clear out this position fully, as you can see. Fully clears jail. Only for one player though. So if there is a second player here, at least I think pretty sure it will take the closest player to Deadlock, but I'm not 100% sure on that. It might take the one most central on the circle too. I have absolutely no clue how that works. So if someone was in this corner, I actually don't know which one it would take. I'm assuming it would take the person in the corner as they're closer to Deadlock, but it could very well just take net as it's closer to the center of the circle. I have absolutely no clue how that actually works. I'd have to test. But yeah, ends up getting taken. And honestly, it's really, really strong in these situations because that player is just gone, basically, essentially dead for the time being. So these players have to basically make hero plays to end up winning the round. And as you can see, so Valent's in like a 1v4 right now. 1v4 actually now with his frenzy. And next we're going to go on to the final round that I'm going to talk about, which is going to be... Okay, so we're on the last round of the game, and Deadlock has an op. And I think that's really, really important to the way that Deadlock's being played by EG. I think it's critical she has an op because it gives her a lot of pressure in the agent itself. Like, you can't peek into the Deadlock with an op still because it has an op, right? She's still holding that line. So it's really, really hard for you to actually peek in and actually take more space from the Deadlock, which is actually quite an integral thing with the way they play Deadlock on attack, which I think is really, really cool. I also think as well that it really just show that this round does show that the Gekko is quite important to the way that Deadlock wants to play, or maybe vice versa. Maybe the Deadlock was actually more integral to the way they wanted to play with the Gekko, and they realized like the Deadlock makes more sense to fit with the Gekko than anything else. And as a result, with these two agents being picked, they kind of had to pick the KO because the KO kind of gave them the explosiveness they needed, the extra, I said the extra red. But the thing is like that's just the way I break down agents. I'm gonna put a video on how I actually break down agents in the future. That's just like a big project I'm working on right now. So keep posted for that in the future. Maybe subscribe for that in the future. But yeah, okay. So we're gonna get on with this round, and as you can see, there is this trap here, which is going to stop any aggression early on. And while the Gekko, we're just going to, actually at the moment, we're just holding, and then we're going to throw the Gekko Dizzy. And what this does is it just clears this line space, right? It clears up here. It doesn't actually quite get here because the Gekko's Dizzy has a 45-meter range. And if I was to ping this, I reckon it's about 55, maybe a bit more. So it's quite a while away. So it's not actually going to get super far back on yellow. And you actually see that I'll actually do it again. Pretty sure they actually Dizzy again. Do they Dizzy again? I can't remember. Yeah, they do. Okay, they Dizzy again. Just to make sure like nothing has changed in this space. As you can see, during that time, the Deadlock had placed a trap here and sort of took this line. So basically what was happening is Dizzy is taking space. Arguably as well, you can do this with the Wingman too. And then Deadlock is retaining that space. Is essentially what's happening, right? Gekko takes the space, Deadlock retains it. And the thing is that the, KO can also help with this early round. Then later on in the round, he kind of wants to be using his util to actually take site a bit more explosively. Because without him, it's hard to take site with these agents, I think. But the thing is with Icebox as well, you're not fully taking sites anyway. So it's not massively important, but KO does give you that edge you need just to get that initial part of the site. So I do think that's the reason why like the whole comp kind of works this way. Which is honestly I think is really, really cool. So Deadlock wants for, like Judgment wants for some pot shots through the smokes there, and then you can see him placing a wall, and this wall would just block anyone trying to be aggressive, and try and get a fast flank through the rotation that they're going to do, right? And you can also see him put up a trap. I'm pretty sure, yeah, he puts up a trap just to make sure like anyone's not following really, really fast. And that wall should honestly do everything he needs anyway. It's just that this is, if anything, a safety precaution. That someone could have been walking through the wall as he was in the smoke, walking through to yellow. And even then, like, I don't think that would even do too much. So maybe he's going to leave one there anyway, to be fair. So it just kind of makes sense, like, where to put. Like, he doesn't really... It's like nitpicking to say, like, where he's going to put it, really. Yeah, I mean, I guess you should be nitpicky in this level, right? This is like the highest level of the game. You should be nitpicking everything. So Apoth goes aggressive. What's new? Apoth is a very, very aggressive player, and I think he definitely helps with this team being like this team comp being very generally quite slow. I think that he can give the mix up of the pace that you generally need. And then we have they sort of take the site plant. They have the trap, not actually on the bomb, but actually on like the rotation round through the site. And as you can see as well, that this is a really lucky, like unlucky or lucky, depending on how you see it. Really unlucky headshot on the jet, and they're just gonna fight them to death through screen. Valiant's doing has a very valiant effort this round. to win the round. And this is kind of the weakness of this. Net ends up getting a flank on the unaware Deadlock, because there just isn't any util left, because the Killjoy took an aggressive fight. There isn't any util to stop the flank, so maybe arguably the problem, maybe a problem for EG. And the loud EG game just went on last night. Was it last night or the night before? And yeah, they end up losing this map, map against Loud. I haven't actually watched the game yet though, so I don't actually know the reason why they lost the map. It might be what we want to do in the future. But yeah, they end up winning this through Superman's clutch. Yeah, so I really like the EG comp. The Deadlock and the Gekko, I think, are a really, really cool addition to the way you play Icebox. But I also think that the Gekko maybe has a bit more potential than the Deadlock. I think the Deadlock might be pushing too much for a specific style, and it might be really, really hard for you to have like mix-up type rounds or really change the pace on an enemy team. Because I feel like you kind of don't really have the choice to play a different way on Deadlock that much on attack. Obviously, and it really comes from the rest of the agents, of which as well, like, I wouldn't necessarily call any of these agents fast aside from Gekko. Sorry, aside from KO. I think Gekko does have ways to be fast, but I don't think he's necessarily liking when he plays fast. Like, the agent itself, the way it's designed, he does like taking some things fast. He can be explosive. But I think methodically, I think the agent itself likes to be methodical the most, more so than anyone. I think KO is definitely the most explosive agent, so I think you really will struggle to have like explosive type rounds with this type of comp. And that's probably might have been the reason why they lost versus Loud. I don't actually know without watching the game. But that's it for the video, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one.